That is how I have gotten most of the good things in my life, where I just go like, well, F it. What's the worst that can happen? And I just like throw myself off the cliff. And I think that is also another part of entrepreneurship, is that you have to get okay with just risk and being uncomfortable and putting yourself in a situation where you're forced to be brave.
I think limiting beliefs is one of the number one things that plagues new business owners, and maybe
100%.
specifically in this space. I think like limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome kind of go back
Oh,
and forth.
huge.
And it's tough because I think the imposter syndrome comes from a really good place of wanting to not pretend
Yeah.
to be something that you're not. But at
Yeah.
the same time, there is a sense of like, Candace said something yesterday in the podcast that was great, but like action breeds clarity. And a lot of times we just sit
Yes.
around and we're like, why am I not clear on what I'm supposed to do? And that it's because we aren't moving, we aren't going in a
Yeah.
direction. So
Well, and I think sometimes other people can see things in us that we cannot see in ourselves. And I think part of the journey of entrepreneurship is really understanding yourself a lot more and making it a goal to know yourself better. And I just wasn't there at that moment in time. Like I couldn't see what Erin saw in me. And I'm grateful that she expressed that to me, because so many people wouldn't have done that.
Mhm.
You know.
So you start wedding planning.
Mm.
Is it, did you kind of click in naturally? Because you're like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this for a long time and now I have, or were there some real rocky kind of moments?
Jonathan, everyone who's listening to this is gonna hate me immediately. So I launched my website April 1st, and I did my first wedding April 7th.
Wow.
I know it never happens this way. For anyone listening, it literally this will not happen to you. It was a fluky luck situation. I had become friends with a handful of wedding planners in my market. One in particular, like, helped me pick a business name, like took me under her wing, and someone contacted her and said, hey, I'm having like a DIY wedding. It just occurred to me that like I have no one to really run all of this. Like my wedding is on Saturday. Can you help me? And she was like, no, but my friend can. And literally just said like, and called me and said, this girl's going to email you. Just say yes. And so I did, and I got paid $600. I also did her florals. Again, do not do as I do. Don't do this. No business doing florals. Really, no skill in doing florals. But she needed someone to go to the mart and get florals and put them out, And I was like, I will do it. And I had a stomach ache the whole week, because I was like, what am I doing? I'm taking money from someone who doesn't know me. Like, she is trusting me like immensely. But then you're right, and it did sort of click in, because I had been doing it. It was just that bridge, again, the bridge of like going from like a stranger has trusted me with this day, and now I have to live up to it. But no, it was like a total fluke. Like, who launches their website and then the next day books a client? Like, literally no one.
Renee, so I think that you mentioned you got lucky, right? That's what you said. But I think there's actually some science to getting lucky.
Yeah.
And I think that what you did was you perfectly positioned yourself to get lucky. And so, yeah, sure, you got lucky. Sure, maybe, or maybe you already had that network of friends, right? Or maybe you had already been putting in the work and planning weddings for free. And maybe you had already been in a position where you knew hospitality and knew what was expected kind of from the F&B side of things. And maybe, so sure, maybe you got lucky, but I really think for the
Right.
pros listening out there, for anyone trying to get in the industry, be like Renee, get lucky like Renee, because you can actually position yourself so that even though you may not get it right away, it may not be 6 days later, 7 days later after you start your business
Right.
that you start this, but you can significantly increase your chances of success by starting to like swim in the same pool.
Yes, and that's an interesting point. And I actually don't even know that I've ever talked about this publicly, but I went to a conference in 2012 called Camp Mighty, which was like a conference for bloggers. And honestly, I had no business being there. I wasn't really a blogger, but I had been following the organizer for a while. And every year she'd post Camp Mighty, and it looked like summer camp for cool girls. You know what I mean? Like, it was, and I never went to summer camp as a kid because I'm from the city. So I was like, I want to go to this one day. And the day that it launched, I remember sitting at this desk, and it launched, and it was kind of pricey. And I was just like, F it, I'm going to put it on a credit card. It was in Palm Springs, and I was like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I'll go and I'll make a friend. And that is how I have gotten most of the good things in my life, where I just go like, well, F it, what's the worst that can happen? And I just like throw myself off the cliff. And I think that is also another part of entrepreneurship, is that you have to get okay with just risk and being uncomfortable and putting yourself in a situation where you're forced to be brave, right? Because like I went to this conference not knowing anyone, although side story, I actually signed up for the conference, tweeted about the conference, saw that another girl was trying to raise money to go to the conference and like doing a GoFundMe. And so I gave her like $20 just because I was like, it was a goodwill gesture. And we ended up being friends. She lives like a mile away from me. Mindy ended up being my good friend, podcast co-host, and she's the one who introduced me to Liz, who gave me my first wedding. So like,
See, the luck is starting I feel like there's a common theme of this planned luck. Like
sure, yeah,
like as we look in hindsight, I think that the dots, you can't connect the dots looking backwards.
yeah,
And I love that. I think that that is a theme I've seen consistently for successful people. They are willing to kind of go do the thing and then they figure it out. And like you said, I can't tell you how many stories I've heard like that are like, I just went and did it. I didn't know anyone. I didn't, but then you do meet that friend, you do discover like there's a need here. Maybe I can plug in, maybe I can help. And then one thing connects to the other, connects to the other.